Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hoopy 186 back again with another video, a live stream or whatever. I'm gonna treat this more like a video. Um, how's everyone doing today? Hopefully everyone else is doing well. Um, I wanted to have this little discussion because I've seen this talk, I've seen this, banter on about the past couple of days. Mainly because of two things. One, because there's been this rumor going around regarding some new Xbox streaming type Xbox, and obviously, when it comes when we're obviously at the tail end of this generation, and obviously, there's talks about what's going to happen next generation, and obviously when it comes to beginning of a generation, power is obviously the thing that people talk about the most. What is the system, what's the requirements, what do these consoles need to do in order to be successful. And I was having an argument with this Xbox fanboy who made a comment saying that Microsoft cannot lose the power battle. Now, in his defense, Microsoft themselves has said, and I think Phil Spencer said this, that they want to be the best place to play your multiplayer. And that makes sense because Microsoft, obviously, their goal is to get all third parties into their ecosystem to use, stuff like Game Pass and what else? What's the other thing that they have? Well, just get into their initiatives and stuff like that, right? That's what they want. That makes sense. Sony is the same way. So, so they've said that they don't want to have the same gap when it comes to the 360. When it comes to not the 360, the Xbox One, when it comes to having the lesser multiplats, and that's understandable. My problem is the thing that I've said, and this is based on just years and years and years of gaming and just overall common sense. Power will never win a console generation by itself, right? Never, never, never win a console generation by itself. We can start all. We'll go all the way back to fifth gen, right? You had the Sega Saturn, you had the Sony PlayStation, and the Nintendo N64. Now, between the three consoles, the N64 was the most powerful console, obviously. But due to you know due to some of its limitation when it comes to what they use as far as software with the cartridges, and also not and having certain disadvantages to. I mean, I can't really speak on this on the Saturn because I never owned one, and I actually, to be frank, I've never used one, so I don't really know much about the Saturn, but mainly the PlayStation with some of its disadvantages when it comes to sound quality, and just overall like easier to develop for. It lost that generation. It got stomped by the PlayStation, even though the N64 was overall the stronger machine. Then you look at the sixth generation. You have the Sega Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, the hold on a second. Um, you had the PS2, you had the GameCube, and you had the Xbox. Now, of all the consoles that were there, the Xbox was by far, yeah, I would say by far, the strongest console, and not by a little bit neither. Let me turn it down. And not by a little bit. That console was a beast. And if you want to look at, excuse me, if you want to look at what console gaming is now, and kind of like the start of that you look to that console. The original Xbox was pretty much what we get here for console gaming now. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing is up to the individual, but that the seeds to what we get now for this generation started with that console. And that console was a monster. It like, and this me comparing it from playing certain games on the PlayStation 2 as opposed to the Xbox. The game normally looked better, and more importantly, the game performed better. But at the end of the day, the PS2 will go down as the strongest, as the one of the greatest consoles of all time. Why? Because of library, because of the choices they made when it came to DVDs. And I mean, really, I think it came out at the perfect time. The Sega Dreamcast. It had an amazing library of games, but it just when you look at Sega's history, it was too much, and it couldn't. And to be frank, looking back, uh, you know, looking back on it, like it just after the success of the PS1, there was really no stopping it after that. So it was just like the perfect storm. So you had the sixth generation. Now seventh generation is where things get a little bit interesting. Now obviously everyone knows about Microsoft kind of ditching the Xbox and going to the 360. And at the time I thought it was a mistake, but I've already mentioned that in a different video. I don't want to get too deep into that again. Well, they came out with 360, and Sony decided to wait a year to release the PS3. Now the PS3 was the stronger console. If you look at the exclusive for both consoles, by and large, the PS4 games look better. The exclusives look better. You know what I mean? But Microsoft had the advantage on several fronts. One with price point, two and most importantly was with, you know, I'll say price point was most important, but obviously, it had games that the PS3 didn't have because the PS3 was simply too difficult to develop for. Plus, you had the multiplat performed better on that console as opposed to the PlayStation. So, so in all three instances that I pointed out, the strongest console didn't win that console generation. Why? Because there were other factors that came into play. And while all fanboys can sit and look, every fanboy fan base do this. Nintendo fanboys do it, PlayStation fanboys do it, and Microsoft fanboys are doing it currently. All fanboys care about all fanboys care about power when their console that they cheer for provides it to them in droves. PlayStation fanboys did that at the beginning of the generation. Xbox fanboys are doing it now with the X, right? But power does not win a console generation by itself. It just doesn't. It doesn't. You look at now this dude that I was arguing with on Twitter. He was saying, "Oh, Microsoft, they can't let go of the power advantage." And I told him basically, power is not going to be the reason why the Xbox wins or fails. It's not. It's not because one, look at history. Look at history. The strongest console has not always won the console has never won a console generation. The reason why the PS4 has won this time has really nothing to do with it. Has something to do with power. The problem with this generation was that the Xbox One released at $100 more, while they're trying to sell you a weaker console. That's fact. That's what happened. They sold you a they sold you a weaker console for a higher price, and that was a big talking point because you also have to take into account there were a lot of people who were not feeling the Xbox at the time. Granted, you could say some of it was just misinformation because even a year into this generation, people were still saying, "Oh, you can't use used games on the Xbox," which is clearly misinformation. You know what I mean? And that's one the thing that hurts that hurts gaming in general is that the reporting on it, when it comes to the media, is shoddy. I would not. Let me say, some of it is definitely shoddy. Some of it is shoddy, and mainly it's not mainstream. You know what I mean? Even though gaming in general, I believe is mainstream, the coverage of it isn't. You know what I mean? You don't really have a dedicated channel for gaming on TV, which I still think most people use. Most people gain their information from TV. Even though that's a dying medium, slowly dying medium. There's no dedicated TV channel for gaming, and like stuff like IGN, GameSpot, all that other stuff. Those are the high end, but there's no equivalent to a CNN or a Fox News or what have you. Yeah, I mean, I mean, and there's no equivalent to an ESPN or anything like that. It's gaming is still, when it comes to coverage, still a niche activity. Yeah, that's just how it is. So when and obviously when you have that, that's why information about certain consoles and stuff like that, it takes longer for regular people to not understand that, to not understand it. So that's why I think a lot of the Xbox One's hate in the beginning kind of lingered, because people don't know. All people know, the first headline, oh, Xbox One won't let you use games, and then it's you really can't recover after that. Like, most of the time, you have to. I'm sorry, I got a phone call from somebody. I don't know who it is, but sometimes you have to make a first impression, because sometimes first impression is all you got, and if you don't, then you're fucked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, if you can't deliver a good first impression, you're fucked. I mean, you have a lot of games now. I see there are some games who are making comeback. Like, I think Street Fighter Five recovered nicely. I think Gran Turismo still doing well. There's obviously all this talk about the No Man's Sky recovering and stuff like that. So it's easy to recover, but normally it's not that easy. You know what I mean? I mean, it's really sometimes not that easy. You know what I mean? You look at the PS3 slow out the gate. I believe it ended up outselling the 360 at the end, but it took a long time to get over that hill for the PS3. It took a long time. Took a long time. So like the reason why I bring this up, overall, because obviously I had the little conversation on Twitter, but I also see a lot of people who are talking up power, and and stuff like that. I mean, mainly the Xbox dudes, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it, because PlayStation dudes were doing it in the beginning, so I can't really hate on them for doing that. But to me, like, that's not the end all be all for a console. It's not. And you see that with Microsoft. If Microsoft only gave a shit about power, then they would not have hired those 5 studios to make games. You know what I mean? Obviously, they know that their big disadvantage is when it comes to making exclusives. You know what I mean? That's just worthwhile exclusive, especially narrative based single player exclusives, creating new IPs. They failed in that. So they know what their issue is. They know what their issue is, but they just wanted to address this notion that they've been beating the power game. And to me, like, it's fine if they want to concentrate on that, but at the end of the day, that wasn't, in my opinion, that wasn't their biggest issue. Their biggest issue this generation, in my opinion, is that they've done a poor job of galvanizing new IPs. That's been their biggest problem. You know what I mean? Like, you look at a game like Sunset Overdrive, you look at a team like Insomniac, like that's a franchise that should be, in my opinion, that should be on their second game. You got all the years that they kind of, you know, they came out with a report, couple, I think, what's that team called? What's that team called? The team behind Quantum Break. Let me look this up real quick, and this is gonna bother me. What's that team called? Oh, Remedy. Okay, yeah, Remedy. They were talking about whether or not, then they're talking about how Microsoft didn't want to make sequels to Alan Wake and Quantum Break. To me, that's a mistake. That's a huge mistake, because you have to give these developers time to flesh out their franchises, and hopefully, with the new acquisitions, that Microsoft will do that. But ultimately, that's what's the most important thing about this generation. It's about not only keeping your old IPs fresh, but also creating new IPs. You know what I mean? Like, part of the reason why Microsoft had such a great first couple years when it came to the Xbox 360 had nothing to do with having, like, a lot of it had to do with them having superior multiplats. And granted, I get that, But the most important thing about what happened in the beginning of the generation is that we got new IPs, right? New IPs that hit Bioshock, Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, and I'll add some of the PlayStation stuff like Uncharted, um, Killzone. No, Killzone was PS2. Um, like those games, Gears of War. You know what I mean? Like we got new, exciting new IPs that generation, and since a lot of those games at one point were exclusive to Microsoft, like that was a big deal. That was a big deal. And now you look at this generation. Look at the new IPs that's come out for Sony, and look at the new IP that came out from Microsoft. Right? Microsoft, you had Sunset Overdrive, Ori and the Blind Forest, Cuphead, um, Quantum Break, Quantum Break. Um, what else is there? There are others, but look at it. You look at those four games. Two of those games are indie games, right? So as cool as those games are, they're not going to be like people don't like. It's like a lot of the Xbox fanboys said, you don't spend all that money for cell phone games, right, guys? Regardless, and then you have Quantum Break, which is probably never going to get a sequel, and you have what was the other game I mentioned? Sunset Overdrive, which I don't believe is going to get a sequel, and if it does, it's not going to be made by the same team that made it's not going to be made by Insomniac, more than likely. And if it is, it's probably going to be multiplat. So you have Rise, which sucks, as well. And then you look at the PlayStation side, you have The Order, which didn't hit. You have Knack, which didn't hit. But you look at games like Horizon, which hit. You look at let me see, they reinvented God of War, right? You have there's other games. You have Days Gone, which is coming out soon. Um, there's other exclusive. Oh, Bloodborne. You have Bloodborne. Let's see, what else do you have? I know there's other ones. Would I count Neo? I mean, it is exclusive to PlayStation, but I don't. But it's also on PC. Hmm. Mm, yeah. Whatever. But regardless, let me see. Yeah, I do have an Xbox. I'll just type it in. But yes, I do have an Xbox. Um, but look, when it comes to new IPs, Sony has hit on a few new IPs, and Microsoft hasn't. That's a fact. You know what I mean? And that to me, that's going to be the most important thing. That's going to be what galvanizes the next generation. Is new IPs. That's always been the thing that has galvanized new hardware. Is the new game. Now, obviously, game's gonna look prettier. You know that stuff you don't have to worry about. You're gonna have new games, you're gonna have new graphics. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the frame rate is gonna be higher because you have to remember the thing with console gaming is they have to sell people on how the game looks, not how the game plays. You know what I mean? Like that's unfortunate, but that's how people, especially casuals. That's how casuals get into gaming by how the game looks, and something has to catch their eye. Now, it could be a game like Ori and the Blind Forest. It could be a game like Cuphead, but but at the end of the day, you know, more often than not, people are going to be be galvanized by realistic graphics. You know what I mean? Like games like a God of War, Gears of War. Games that are graphically beautiful, graphically, um, I guess you could say pseudo realistic. You know what I mean? So you'll have that, but ultimately, new IPs are what's going to drive the next generation of console gaming. Now, I don't know what Microsoft's plans are for the cloud based computing and all the other stuff. I don't know what I don't know what their plans are for that. I don't know, but whatever it is that Microsoft or Sony decide to do, the most important thing that they have to do, one is to galvanize um console gaming with new IPs while keeping their old IPs fresh. That's how it is. So, like I said, I'm not saying power is not important. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's not the most important thing at all. It's not the most important thing at all. If the next Xbox comes out and is weaker than the PS4, is that a fail for Microsoft? No. Even regardless of whether or not, Phil Spencer said this or said that, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know, they have to hope and pray that their new studios can create new IPs that can galvanize the fan base. That's it. And the same thing goes with Sony. Sony doesn't need to have a more powerful console to beat Microsoft. That's not how that's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. Their job is to make sure that all their new IPs, whether old IPs and new IPs, hit, and that's it. That's it. Whatever it is that they decide to do, hopefully they hit. It can make the console sell new or old IP doesn't really matter. Yeah, I guess I agree. Thank you for watching. Fall of Wall, Mac of Wall 10. Thank you for watching. Um, like I said, new IPs will always be the number one thing when it comes to new consoles. That will always be the number one thing. You get a game that can really galvanize an audience. Let's look at for example, look at what's that game called? Watch Dogs, right? The original trailer, the first trailer that they showed at E3. Dude, I was hyped for that game. That game looked amazing. The graphics, everything like that, being able to, hijack and hack the city and all that other stuff. I was hyped for that game. And the hype died down when every time they showed um more and more of the gameplay, the graphics started to degrade again, and start the downgrade began. Now I played the game. I played Watch Dogs. I like Watch Dogs. I really do. But unfortunately, when it came down to it, at the end of the day, it just played like any other open world game, with the added benefit of with the hacking gameplay and stuff like that. There was really nothing special about that game at the end of the day, and I stopped playing it. You know what I mean? And then you look at a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that I already played, mind you. I beat this game on PS3, and I replayed it on PS4, and I'm still playing it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what's up, Jack? How you doing? I mean, Jake. I'm saying Jack. Jake Mario, how you doing, man? How you doing? Um, so yeah, like I was saying, like I have this brand new IP in Watch Dogs. You know what I mean? Like it's a good game, and it's nothing special. But Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that I've already played, I'm still playing it. And obviously the game looks better, runs better. I mean, not to the point where it's like, oh my god, like I can never go back and play the PSP version, but it looked better, played better, and like at the end of the day, like it's the game that I like more. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying, if you can get a new IP that can hit, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Power is not going to win you a console generation by itself. I mean, I agree that third party. If you get better third party support, that will help you. I agree that will help you. But let's say, for example, you look at what's going on now with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, right? Everyone knows that the Pro is not as good as the X. When it comes to performance, not even close, right? Most people obviously will succeed. Even PlayStation 2 will succeed. That the Xbox One X is the stronger, better machine. But at the end of the day, when you look at MPDs, when you look at VG charts, which console sells more? It's the PS4. And the dude that I was arguing with on Twitter, the dude I was arguing with on Twitter was saying, "Oh, the Xbox One X sells more than the PS4 Pro." One, you have no proof of that, and the only proof he had was Amazon. And I'm like, Amazon is just one site. I don't know. I don't know who sells. I don't know who sells more. You know what I mean? And to be fair, I still don't know which one of these upgraded consoles sells more. I don't know. But ultimately, those consoles are not separated by NPD. Why? Because at the end of the day, they're still Xbox One X's. They're still one. They're still those upgrades are still considered PS4s and Xbox Ones. You know what I mean? And by and large, most third-party games sell better on the PlayStation. With a few, I'm sure there's a few exceptions somewhere. No, I agree with the exclusive. And what do I think about the Switch? The funny thing about because I'm not like I'll be upfront. I don't know if you're a fan, Jake, but I'm not a fan of Nintendo. Not a fan. Um, but I actually would like to have like I not necessarily have a Switch, but I would like to play some of the games on the Switch. The games on the Switch are not the issue. The power not necessarily is not the issue for me either. Even though I still think that Nintendo. You see, my problem with Nintendo is that they're behind when it comes to hardware. I think they're too far behind. Right? You don't have to make a machine that's stronger than the Xbox One or the PS4. But to me, in my opinion, they're too far behind in the power category. But even with all that, I would buy the system. My problem with the Switch is I don't trust the build of the hardware. You know what I mean? 'Cause I've seen so many people who have these like cracks on not they have the cracks on the corners of the system. I don't trust the clickable nature of the system. Like I don't trust putting in the Joy Cons in and hopefully it not breaking one day. Like I don't trust the hard, and that's weird for me to say because the one thing I've always given Nintendo credit for is their hardware. You know what I mean? Like the my Super Nintendo worked for a long time. My Super Nintendo worked for a long time. I know the N64 is well built. The GameCube, the only reason why this is my sister's GameCube. The only reason why my sister's GameCube broke is because one of my nieces kind of messed up the lens. Like that's the only reason why it broke. Yeah, I mean a price drop for the Switch wouldn't be a bad thing. They need to drop the price of those accessories, definitely. Um, but the GameCube was well built. I'm sure the Wii and Wii U were well built systems as well. To me, I just don't trust. I just don't trust the hardware of the Switch. I just don't. I don't trust it. I'm just afraid that one day, if I make a wrong move, that thing's gonna break, and that's gonna piss me off. So like yeah. So my problem with the Switch is that I feel like they're too far behind when it comes to power. But even still, I would still buy a Switch if I could trust the hardware. But yeah. So like I was saying overall, 'cause I'm not. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be too much longer. Um, Power alone will not win a console generation. It just won't. Like we have too many examples of this over the past. I don't know 30, 40, 50 years. Like I mean, all the way from look at systems like the Neo Geo. Like Neo Geo was a strong machine. I'm using like every time I go to a video game bar, right? And they have a list of consoles that they emulated. You know what I mean? Like you have Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Master System, regular Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, and they recently added a PlayStation and N64 one. Now they also have a Neo Geo one also, and Neo Geo, I believe. Let me look this up real quick. The Neo Geo came out. Um, Let me see. I'm kind of off on. I'm kind of off of what time it came out, what year it came out. Wait a minute, it came out in 1990. Hold on, hold on a second. Let me look. Let me look at this. Yeah, they come out 1990. Like the system came out in 1998. I believe it came out. I believe it came out before the. I know it definitely came out before the Super Nintendo. Let me look that up real quick. Excuse me. Yeah, Super Nintendo came out. Oh yeah, Super Nintendo came out in 1990 also. Okay, so it's pretty much so this Neo Geo was is technically a fourth generation console. Yeah, yeah, it's fourth generation console, right? Strong as all hell. Arcade, or at least arcade perfect or close to arcade perfect games. Um, but the thing is, the fucking system was very very expensive. Like damn near $700 at launch. I believe the games at the time cost $200 $300. And even though the system was strong, I believe the load times on it were atrocious, were terrible. You know what I mean? Even in despite having the strongest machine out there, it just there were too many negatives behind the system that this didn't allow it to be a success. At least here in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's more than just power. Like you can't just rely on power and think everything's gonna be fine. And the only people who only really care about that are people who only want it as fanboy fodder, who only want it so that they can brag about having the best multiplats and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, and I see a lot of Xbox dudes do this. A lot of the Xbox dudes, they sit there and say that exclusives are not as important. They don't say it's not important because they will sound stupid. They will say it's not as important because they get to play most of the multiplats better. Because that's all they care about. All fanboys care about at the end of the day is doing something that the other fanboy side do better. That's all they care about. You know what I mean? So they don't they because a lot of their concerns are more towards the fanboy side. Me, when it comes to me, the reason why I say that power not alone going to win anything, because I already see it. You already see it now. Just because a console is stronger than the other doesn't mean that the other console can't make beautiful games. I'll be honest with you. I've seen better looking games on the Switch than I've seen lately from coming from Microsoft. You know what I mean? Like you look at games like Mario Kart, um, Breath of the Wild. In my opinion, they look better than State of Decay and Sea of Thieves. I don't give a damn how good the water looks. Everything else about the game looks like trash. So So as far as I'm concerned, power don't mean shit unless not only unless you have everything else going for it, or if you have the game that go for it, or the studio that are talented enough to do that. It doesn't mean anything. Like it's not just like you know thing where you have it and it's like and that's it. Like only people who do that are Xbox fanboys or fanboys who have quote the power advantage and that's all they want to brag about. But ultimately, that shit's gonna go hollow if they see a game like Horizon, if they see a game like God of War, if they see a game like like Spider Man. You know what I mean? Like, you look at all those games and you're like, does it really matter what hardware is on? Because the game looks amazing. So ultimately it's not going to matter. But ultimately, like that's just how it is. Like people like power is not going to win you a console generation by itself. And I think everybody and Microsoft realizes that. That's why they bought the studios. And ultimately that's what's going to matter at the end of the day is creating new IPs and getting people invested into your product. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So I mean that's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to talk about. Uh let me scour Twitter real quick because I don't think there's really much else to talk about. Got a couple replies. So like I said, man, like people, oh man, like I said, man, like ultimately it doesn't matter. Like power is not the end all be all, and it shouldn't be. At the end of the day, games are what matters most. That's all that is. That's all that matters most. So anyway, this is Who 186. I'm out. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. Share. You know what I mean? If you guys want, help me get some views. Get some views. Oh wait, hold on. Dreadhead, what's up, man? Yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's right, man. Like, look at the Switch. Switch is the weakest console out of three by country mile, and it's doing fine. Like, power is not the end all be all. Anyway, thank you, man. You called me at near the end, man. But anyways, all right, I'm out, man. Peace out. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, share the video if you guys want. Help me get some views. Anyways, all right, later, guys.